Hello there, I'm Nicholas, and this is On Listening with Chi Rising Studio. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm pretty excited because we have a chance to explore something that's become such an integral part of so many people's lives, and that is mindfulness. You know, when I first tell people about mindfulness, they often think it's something mystical or complicated, something reserved for monks in remote monasteries. But the truth is, mindfulness is as simple as breathing. It's something we all have the capacity for, just like we all have the capacity to be kind or to learn new skills. A few days ago, I was walking through a park on what felt like quite a crisp afternoon. The sun was hidden behind a patchwork of clouds, and I noticed how the first frost of the year had created these patterns on the grass. For that moment, I wasn't thinking about my to-do list or worrying about the next day. I was simply there, present, noticing. That's mindfulness in its most natural form. But let's take a step back. What exactly is mindfulness? At its heart, mindfulness is simply the practice of paying attention to our present moment experience with openness, curiosity, and kindness. It's about noticing what's happening right now in our bodies, our minds, and our surroundings, without getting caught up in judging whether it's good or bad. Most of us spend an incredible amount of time either dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Our minds are like time machines, constantly jumping backwards and forwards. And while planning and reflecting are useful skills, when we're constantly removed from the present moment, we miss out on actually living our lives. Think about how often you've driven, cycled, or even walked somewhere and realized when you arrived, you don't quite remember the journey. Or think about the last time you sat down to a meal whilst idly swiping on your phone screen. In that moment, it's easy to forget about tasting the food in front of you. These are examples of what we might call mindlessness, which is the opposite of mindfulness. The practice of mindfulness has roots that go back thousands of years, most notably in Buddhist traditions, but in recent decades it's been adapted and studied extensively from a secular perspective. And the scientific research is quite remarkable, showing benefits for reducing stress, improving focus, helping with anxiety and depression, and even supporting better physical health. But here's what I find most astounding about mindfulness. It's not about achieving some special state, or even becoming a different person. It's about coming home to ourselves, rediscovering a natural capacity we all have, but may have forgotten along the way. Some might ask, but what's the point? Why should I be more present in the moment? Well, imagine you're watching a sunset. You could be there physically, but mentally be lost in thoughts about work, effectively missing the entire experience. Or you could be fully present, taking in the colours, the changing light, the feeling of the evening air. Which experience do you feel you would prefer? Mindfulness helps us live our lives more fully, more richly. Of course, mindfulness isn't just for life's pleasant moments. It's equally valuable, perhaps even more so, when you're experiencing emotional hurt or physical pain. Perhaps you live with chronic pain, or you're going through an emotionally difficult time. Many of us instinctively try to push away these uncomfortable experiences, but mindfulness offers a different approach. By gently acknowledging and being present with your pain, you may find it becomes more manageable. You might notice how the sensations shift and change, sometimes intensifying, sometimes easing. This awareness can help you respond more skillfully, to your body's needs rather than getting caught in a cycle of tension and resistance. Through mindfulness, we learn that we can hold our difficulties with compassion, whilst creating a little bit of breathing space around them. Mindfulness is also about developing a different relationship with our thoughts and emotions. Often we're so caught up in the story of our lives that we don't realize we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness that notices our thoughts. This simple shift in perspective can be profoundly liberating. I sometimes think of mindfulness a little bit like learning to swim. At first, you might feel awkward and a little uncertain, but with gentle practice, it becomes second nature. And just as swimming gives you the ability to move through water with ease, mindfulness helps you navigate life's challenges with more skill and grace. You might be wondering about the practical benefits you could experience. Well, people who practice mindfulness often report feeling more centered, less reactive, and better able to handle stress. They often sleep better, have improved relationships, and feel more connected to themselves and others. But perhaps most importantly, they develop a deeper sense of inner peace and well-being. One of the most beautiful aspects of mindfulness is how it awakens us to gratitude in the ordinary moments of life. Take something as simple as washing dishes, a task many rush through mindlessly. When approached with mindful awareness, we can feel profound appreciation for having access to clean, hot, running water, for the plates and bowls that have served our meals, for the abundance of food that has nourished us. Even the simple fact that we have soap and a safe place to clean our dishes becomes worthy of gratitude. This is the magic of mindfulness. It transforms mundane moments into opportunities to recognize the countless blessings that surround us, even in life's simplest tasks. Many of us think that mindfulness isn't for us because our minds are just too busy. But a busy mind is actually the perfect place to begin. Just as a cluttered room doesn't prevent us from starting to create order, one small space, one item at a time. The wandering mind isn't a barrier to mindfulness, it's precisely why we practice. Each time we notice our mind has wandered and gently bring it back to the present moment, we're strengthening our capacity for awareness, just as naturally as any other skill develops with patience and practice. In fact, research published in 2011 in the Clinical Psychology Review indicates that practicing mindfulness actually improves our cognitive abilities the more we practice. I think at this moment it's important to talk about something that might surprise you. Mindfulness doesn't always feel good, and that's perfectly okay. Sometimes when we slow down and pay attention, we become aware of underlying anxiety, stress, sadness, or discomfort that we've been too busy to notice. This isn't a failing in our practice, it's actually a sign that we're developing greater awareness. Just as a doctor needs to examine a wound before treating it, we need to be aware of our internal landscape to care for ourselves effectively. Think of mindfulness as developing a form of literacy, emotional literacy. Just as we learn to read words on a page, mindfulness helps us read the subtle signals of our body and mind. We begin to notice signals like tension in the neck that identifies stress, the flutter in the stomach that speaks of anxiety, or the expansive feeling in the chest that accompanies joy. This emotional literacy has profound implications for our relationships. When we're more attuned to our own internal experience, we naturally become better at understanding others. It's like developing a more sophisticated emotional vocabulary that allows for richer, more authentic connections with those around us. One aspect of mindfulness that often gets overlooked is its relationship with creativity. When we're present and aware, we notice more, see connections we might have otherwise missed, and access a deeper well of creative resources. Artists, writers, musicians, many report that their best ideas come when they're in a state of mindful awareness, fully engaged with their craft without being caught up in self-judgment or planning. There's also a profound link between mindfulness and resilience. Life inevitably brings challenges, but mindfulness helps us develop what we might call emotional shock absorbers. Instead of being knocked off balance by the natural, everyday difficulties we experience, we develop the capacity to stay steady amidst life's ups and downs. We learn to respond rather than react, to pause before acting, to find the crucial space between stimulus and response. And when we are more present, we're better able to tune into our intuition and wisdom. Rather than making choices from a place of habit or reactivity, we can access a deeper knowing. It's a bit like having an internal compass that helps navigate life's complexities with greater clarity and confidence. Take the example of a surgeon in the operating room. Mindfulness enables them to remain present and aware, not only helping them perform better technically, but also enabling them to remain calm and focused during unexpected complications. This illustrates how mindfulness isn't just about personal well-being. It can enhance our professional lives and benefit those we serve. Something that might seem counterintuitive, mindfulness can actually help us be more efficient and productive, even though it involves slowing down. When we're mindful, we waste less energy on unnecessary worry and multitasking. We make fewer mistakes that need correcting, have clearer priorities, and work with greater focus. It's like the old Zen proverb, when walking, walk. When eating, eat. As we begin to integrate mindfulness into our lives, we often notice a shift in our relationship with time. Rather than always feeling rushed or behind, we start to experience time differently. We become more present in each moment, less caught up in this chronic sense of time pressure that characterizes modern life for many of us. This doesn't mean we get everything done, but we relate to time with greater ease and wisdom. It's clear that practicing mindfulness isn't about adding anything new to our lives. Instead, it's about peeling back the layers that keep us from truly experiencing life as it unfolds, moment by moment. Mindfulness invites us to reconnect with the richness of everyday moments and to bring a kind, curious awareness to both our inner and outer worlds. The beauty of mindfulness is that it's always accessible, whether it's in the quiet of meditation, the rhythm of washing dishes, or the simple act of breathing. Each moment holds an invitation to return to ourselves. In a world that often pulls us in 1,000 directions, mindfulness reminds us that there's strength in simplicity, peace in presence, and wisdom in simply being. If you found value in this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who might also find it interesting. Your support helps us continue to create this space for learning and growth. You can find out more about our studio and the podcast at chirising.studio.